Could the Miami Dolphins be sitting on a ticking time bomb that's about to explode in their faces? And are they too stubborn to see the warning signs flashing right in front of them? That's the uncomfortable reality every Dolphins fan needs to confront as we dive deeper into the Tyreek Hill situation, a saga that's becoming less about football excellence and more about organizational pride versus cold, hard business logic. And frankly, the longer Miami waits to address this powder keg, the more likely they are to get burned by their own indecision. Let's cut through all the noise and examine what's really happening here. Tyreek Hill didn't just have a bad game or two last season. He had what can only be described as a roller coaster year that exposed some serious concerns about both his consistency and his commitment to this franchise. When he dropped those "I'm out" comments at the end of the season, that wasn't just frustration talking. That was a 31-year-old superstar sending a clear message about his future in South Beach. Now, Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox has laid out two compelling arguments for why the Dolphins should cut their losses and trade Hill immediately, and both reasons hit like a freight train of financial reality. First, there's a jaw-dropping $15 million in salary cap space Miami could free up by moving Hill before the season begins. In today's NFL, where every dollar counts toward building a championship roster, that's not just money. That's the difference between signing game-changing players and watching them go to competitors. But here's where Knox's analysis gets really interesting, and frankly, a little terrifying for Dolphins fans who still believe in the Hill magic. He points out something that should keep Mike McDaniel awake at night. Hill's trade value is only going to decrease if he has another good but not great season. And considering what we witnessed last year, that's not just possible, it's probable. Think about this for a moment. Hill's 2024 campaign was defined by inconsistency and disappearing acts when the team needed him most. When Tua Tagovailoa went down with injuries, Hill's production fell off a cliff, exposing a fundamental flaw in both his game and the Dolphins' offensive philosophy. A truly elite receiver finds ways to make plays regardless of who's throwing him the ball. Hill showed us they've become almost entirely dependent on having a specific quarterback and system to maximize his effectiveness. The age factor cannot be ignored either. At 31 years old, Hill is entering that dangerous territory where speed, his greatest asset, can disappear overnight. We've seen it happen to countless receivers who built their careers on pure velocity. One pulled hamstring, one minor ankle injury, or just the natural effects of father time, and suddenly that game-breaking speed becomes merely above-average quickness. What makes this situation even more complex is that Hill is still undeniably talented. He remains dangerous enough to command double coverage, explosive enough to change games with one touch, and experienced enough to understand how to exploit defensive weaknesses. For the right team with the right quarterback, Hill could absolutely be the missing piece that pushes him over the top. The question is whether Miami is that team, and all evidence suggests the answer is a resounding no. Knox makes another brutally honest assessment that cuts the heart of this dilemma. Hill probably doesn't have a future in Miami beyond his current contract, which expires in 2026. If that's the case, and let's be honest, it probably is, then why are the Dolphins clinging to a player who's made it clear he wants out and whose best days are likely behind him? The Tua dependency issue cannot be overstated. Hill's struggles when Tagovailoa was injured weren't just statistical anomalies. They were a window into what this offense looks like when the timing and chemistry aren't perfect. And here's the uncomfortable truth. There's absolutely no guarantee that Tua stays healthy for an entire season. His injury history is well documented, and every time he goes down, he'll become significantly less effective. From a pure asset management perspective, the Dolphins are playing with fire by holding on to Hill. His trade value right now is still relatively high based on name recognition and past performance. But what happens if he has another inconsistent season? What happens if he gets injured? What happens if he continues making public comments about wanting out? Each of these scenarios dramatically reduces what Miami could get in return. The $15 million in cap savings isn't just about freeing up money. It's about redirecting resources toward building a more balanced, sustainable roster. That money could be used to strengthen the offensive line, add depth at linebacker, or invest in young talent that fits the team's long-term vision. Instead, Miami is essentially paying premium prices for a player who may not even want to be there. There's also the locker room dynamic to consider. Hill's end-of-season comments didn't happen in a vacuum. They were the culmination of frustrations that had been building throughout the year. When a star player publicly expresses dissatisfaction, it creates ripple effects throughout the organization. Younger players start questioning their own situations, and team chemistry can suffer. The most damning part of this entire situation is the timing. If Knox is right, and his analysis certainly makes sense, then every day the Dolphins wait to make a move is a day they're potentially losing value. Trade markets in the NFL are fluid, and teams that need receiver help won't wait forever to explore other options. Miami finds itself in the classic trap of emotional decision-making versus business logic. They're holding on to Hill because of what he represented when they first acquired him, not necessarily what he represents now. But championship organizations make tough decisions based on future projections, not past glory. The writing is on the wall, and it's written in bold letters. Hill wants out. His best days are likely behind him. His trade value is only going to decrease, and the Dolphins could use that $15 million to build a more complete team. The question isn't whether Miami should trade him. It's whether they'll have the courage to pull the trigger before it's too late. What's your take on this situation? Should the Dolphins cut their losses and trade Hill now while they can still get maximum value? Or are they right to try making it work for one more season? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to hit that like button if you think Miami needs to make some tough decisions before they regret it.